Hello and welcome to Kant Academy. This is first in the series of videos I will be posting about data science topics. So first thing that we're going to look at today is data wrangling using Python. Um, and I just wanted to first of all, share this definition from Wikipedia about what exactly is data wrangling. And you can see the definition there. And essentially, what data wrangling is that you are trying to transform or map data from one particular form into another form. And what I'm going to focus today is trying and show you how to deal with real world data instead of going through a lot of theory and showing you different ways of doing data wrangling. I'm just going to pick a real world situation where you might use data wrangling, where we want to take this raw form of data. Maybe you have data in one column, all of your data in one column, and you want to do some kind of analytics, but you can't really do any analytics, right? Unless you have all the information in a nice structured row column wise table. So here's a scenario that we'll be working with. So it's a very simple scenario. So imagine you have Excel file with only like one column of data, and so every 5 rows you have your name and then amount in CAD, which is the Canadian dollar, and then amount in INR, Indian rupee, whether the payment was delivered or whether it is pending, and then what is the date on which it was sent on. So you might be thinking, what exactly is this data? So think of it as like a remit data, right? You're sending money from Canada to India, or from any country, and then you try to extract the data. And then so here, when you extract the data, let's assume that you have the scenario where you have all the data in one column, and in this one column you have all the transactions basically. So each transaction, instead of having one row for each transaction, we instead have 5 rows for each transaction. So the name, then followed by the amount in Canadian dollar, then in Indian rupee, and then the status, whether it is delivered, pending, and then what is the date. So that's like one transaction. So imagine you have such a situation, and then you're trying to figure out how can you do some analysis on that. Maybe you want to visualize how many payments were made in each month, or and then what is the trend, and then you want to see what is the average amount being sent. Maybe you can also look at the conversion as well from CAD to INR, right? So lots of things that you can do, but right now in the way the data is formatted, we are unable to do that. So let me just show you the visualization of what exactly we're dealing with. So this is a screenshot of the Excel file. So imagine you have this one column of data, and then I just picked like the first 10 rows here, and you can see the first row you have the name Jack, and then the transaction amount, CAD in CAD, and then INR, and then the status, and then the date, and then it's obviously here you can see like sent on. So there's also the text in the dates that you have to deal with, and then also if you want to like do any kind of calculations later on, you want to convert the CAD, and then the comma, you want to get rid of the comma and the amount, and then the CAD at the end and the INR at the end. So basically we want, on the right side you can see you want to have 5 columns here, and then so for each transaction, so you have a name, then the amount in CAD, then INR, and the status and the date. So that's basically what we want to do, and we are going to try and do this using Python, and then specifically we're going to look at pandas and NumPy. So pandas functions, I'm sure most of you are aware of. We're also we'll use some of the string functions, and we'll also use the numpy function that's going to be really useful for us in doing the transformation, which is called reshape. And let's go and check. All right, so let's get started with um, some coding here. So let's look at the so I'm going to use the Jupyter notebook here, and if you are never used the Jupyter notebook or never used Python, I'll post links below that can help you, and then you can check them out how to install those. But typically, like I'm assuming, like most of you have already have some knowledge of it. And the first thing is, like, we're going to import pandas and numpy, and then we're going to have to import our data set. So that's going to be using read underscore Excel. Our file is an Excel file, and then we have a function in pandas to use that. So we can use that, and then we can visualize the first 10 rows here, and you can clearly see that the from like the row 0 to 4, you can see that's like one transaction, and then from 5 to 9 there's like another transaction. And we can also check out the tail, and if you look at the tail, you can see the last row seems to be row 124. So that tells me from 0 to 124, that's like 125 rows that we're dealing with, and that basically means that since 5 rows is equals one transaction, so we have dealing with 25 transactions. So it's a really small data set. And remember, our goal is to convert this, and so let's create the structure first of like what is the goal. So goal is to have these columns here: the name, amount, status, and the date sent. And so I'm going to use a function in pandas again called data frame. I'm going to create an empty data frame, and you can also check it out using dot head, and you can see it shows you the all the column names, but there's nothing in there yet. um, so let's go back now to the our data frame that we created, and then here is where the magic happens. So the reshape function in NumPy, so np dot, so the way you read something like this is look at the outer bracket here, right? And then inside that you have one more function happening. So you need to like look at within this pd dot data frame. So basically this outer one, like I said, it just converts into a data frame, and then we are specifying the column names here. What are the column names for this particular data frame, just like how we did here, but then we have additional parameter that we're passing here, which is basically using the reshape function from NumPy, and then within that you have two parameters within the two brackets you can see inside that. So the first one is basically saying df dot values. So basically from our data frame, you're saying take those values, and then the next argument here is 25 comma 5. So basically what that is doing is we're simply saying uh, what we're providing the structure on how NumPy has to reshape it. So we are saying convert this into a 25 by 5. Think of it like a matrix transformation. So so I'm saying, like, take this this column vector. So think of it like a column vector. So a vector, or like this column which has like 125 values in there, and then I'm saying convert this. So every 5 values, move them over, and then I want to have overall, I want to have 25 rows. So 25 rows and 5 columns, and then the names of those columns are, I'm providing them here, and then save those results into a new data frame which I'm calling as data frame 3. And I'm just going to run that and then look at the first 5 rows, and then you can see now I have the name, the amount in CAD, and then amount in INR, and then status, and then the date set. So that's basically the transformation, right? So are we done? Well, not quite. I mean, the transformation is done. We are in a pretty good shape now. But still, I can't really add anything. I can't add the amount CAD, amount INR. I can't really do anything with the date sent because it's all in character right now. So you can see like it's a categorical variable or a character variable. You can see the INR at the end and then the comma and then even the date. You have this sent on. It's the text is not really useful for any kind of further analytics. So the next step is I want to get rid of the I want to first of all split this amount CAD. So I'm going to focus on the amount CAD and amount INR. I want to split in such a way that I can get rid of the currency denomination right at the end, which is CAD or INR. So the function that I'm going to use is called split, and this is like native to Python, so it has nothing to do with like pandas or NumPy. So the data frame and then so dot string str dot split. So on this particular column I'm going to split it, and then where do I want to split it? I want to split it at the dot here. So you can see there's only one dot in this column, so the 3 comma 3 zeros and then dot 0 0 and then cat. So I want to split it the dot, and then the same thing for the amount here. I'm not really interested in the decimals because in this data set when I like looked at it, I didn't really think that that would matter that much. But if you wanted to be precise, then you can like split at this like the space instead. But I just wanted to get rid of the decimals. And then the next argument we're providing is, so here I'm giving, so n equals 1 basically means that I just want to have one split. If you don't provide it, it will just split as many times as possible wherever it finds the delimiter or the separator that you provided. And then expand equals true option is when you're applying this on a data frame. If it is false, and it just basically tells the split function that we're dealing with a series instead of a data frame, and I don't want to get into that right now. And so let's do that. And then here I'm creating two new columns, amount CAD, amount INR, and then how am I creating that? So these two new variables that I have, new and new2, I'm just saying, so there's going to be two values in there, right? Two columns, right? When you split it. So I'm saying the 0 basically means the new, the square bracket 0 basically means the first element of that. So that, and then you can see now the amount CAD. So I've like basically replaced our original amount CAD with a new amount CAD and the new amount INR, and then I basically took the first split of both amounts, right? And so we got rid of the CAD and INR and the decimals. Okay, so next thing is that well, we still have like the comma there, right? So one way to deal with that is there's again another string function called replace, and I can basically replace the comma with a space, and then at the end I can say as type int, and what that does is that it will remove that comma and then put a space, and then when you say as type int, it will just going to convert that into an integer, nearest integer. And then here you can see now I have the amounts for both CAD and INR in a pretty good form for us to use. So we're basically almost done now, and now I can use a function called group by. So dot group by, and then I can specify the name. So here it turns out the column name is also named. So the column name, whatever is the name on which you want to do the aggregations. So I want to group by, and then for each of the names I want to look at dot agg is like aggregate, and then within that I want to specify like what are the columns on which you want to do the aggregation. So I want to do aggregation on amount CAD, and what kind of aggregation I want to sum all the values, and similarly on the column amount INR I want to sum everything, and then the name I want to count everything, right? And let's just see what that shows me. So that shows me there's actually Jack and Jill, two names, and then the amount, so 34,850 is the amount, and then their total 22 uh, transactions, and then Jill had 3 transactions, and then 6,916 or 6,916 is the amount in CAD, and then the equivalent amount in INR. I could also just look without the name Jack and Jill. I can just look overall. Overall, 41,766 dollars, Canadian dollars were sent, and then there were 25 transactions. So now we are at a stage where we could answer these questions, like how much amount was sent and who sent it and how many transactions, right? So those kind of things. Obviously, since it's a small data set, we can just look at it and try and figure it out. But the goal, remember, is try and learn Python and try and do this in Python on like a small data set, so that at a later stage, if you're dealing with a huge data set, that can help you. And it also, the other advantage of this is like it also addresses this particular video also addresses a lot of interview questions that you might face. Okay, so next, so what am I doing here? The next few steps. So I'm basically trying to convert the date sent, which is I have some text there. So I'm just using similar technique that we used earlier. So splitting, and then using like after the split the second part, and then I got the removed the sent on. And then I also look at the different data types of these objects. So you can see amount, CAD, INR, int, status, and date sent object. So you can see date sent is still an object. I wanted that to be, I wanted it in a proper date format. So next thing is, I decided that there are probably like different ways of doing this, but I decided to like again split this date sent into like a month, day, and then year, to have like 3 splits. And that's what I do in the next few steps. And it's very straightforward, again using split and then using either the first or the second element to pick up the month, day, and year. And then you basically end up here with the month as a new column, day as a new column, and year as a new column. And all of that was possible just by using the split function, right? Just using split, and then just creating new columns here. Now the next thing is I want to combine these month, day, and year, and I want to somehow create a date, convert it into like a date time format. So that's what I'm doing down here. So there's a function called toDateTime, and so this function basically I need to pass the year, month, and date, which we have here. And so here I created a dictionary where I'm assigning, so Jan should be month 1, Feb should be 2, and so on, because this toDateTime that we pass to, the month has to be numeric, which it is not currently. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm creating a dictionary where, so the Jan corresponds to the numeric 1, and then Feb 2, and so on until December. And then I'm using a function called map. So I'm basically mapping everything. So everything that it finds in here where it looks like AUG, like August, then it will replace it, put 8 in that place. So let me just run that. That's because I didn't run the D. And then now you can see the month. You can see with the map function, we were able to quickly replace all of those, right, using the dictionary. Now this is again like a really important interview question that you might face. So if you're given this some scenario like this, like where they would ask you, maybe not this particular scenario, but maybe something else, and you write a complicated for loop to do it, it's going to keep running and running past your interview time. Okay, so you want to try and understand that there's situations where using a map function might be much more simpler and faster, right? And so eventually we get to the stage where we use toDate time, again a pandas function, and then finally we get the date in the year, month, and day format. And so now we are done. We have the amount INR and then the date. So we have everything. So this basically video covers like trying to the data wrangling part where you're taking and transforming the data, and also looks at like once you have it in the format that you want, then dealing with the different issues within each columns and converting from character to numeric columns, and also dealing with date. Those are like the common issues that every data scientist or data analyst faces. So that's what I've tried to show you using like a unique and different example that's not there out in the world, where everybody has like using the same example, same data set. I try to pick up something different for you. So thank you, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this, and let me know in the comments if you find like any questions, if you have any questions, and also if you have like a better solution as well. Feel free to share down below. And then also if you have like any new for the new topics that you want me to cover, I can cover those as well. And if you have any criticisms as well, I'm all ears. I can improve based on your feedback. Thank you.